President Muhammadu Buhari arrived at the White House on Monday afternoon to a warm handshake by President Donald Trump. Both leaders walked inside together, appearing later to share a bit about what had been discussed.
We are very grateful to the United States for agreeing to give us the aircraft we asked for, the spare parts. We are even more grateful for the physical presence of United States military specialists that go to our institutions in Nigeria and train them and go to the front in the northeast to see how they are performing as a result of the training given to them.
Also, we've had very serious problems with Christians who have been murdered, killed in Nigeria. We're going to be working on that problem and working on that problem very, very hard.
Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Standing by with us is Bish Johnson, a security consultant and a former captain in the U.S. Navy. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. U.S. Army.
U.S. Army, yes, thank you.
Correct.
We've had so many kind of perspectives around this trip that President Buhari embarked upon to Washington, D.C. What is your assessment of the impact of the trip on Nigeria's present security situation?
Well, let me start first by saying that I think it's an honor to not only our president, but also to our country that our president is the first president in sub-Saharan Africa to be invited by this current White House. So it is an honor, and I think we should not take it, what happened very lightly. Now, having said that, I have always advocated for a close relationship between Nigeria and the United States because this is a country that I served. I know how much we stand to benefit when we have a very close relationship with America. You know, take it or leave it. The United States is more of, force of good than evil, like, it's been presented in some quarters. There are so many good things that comes out of a relationship between the U.S. and any country for that matter. Accepted. Every president, the number one priority of every president is to look out for the interests of their citizens. But presidents equally, consider bilateral relationships, multilateral relationships when they make decisions. So I think as far as the security implication of this visit to our country, I believe that the visit of our president to America is going to, impact probably positively to the security situation.
One of the things that we heard, one of the outcomes that came out of it was that we heard that the U.S. President Donald Trump acknowledged that not only, of course, with the Super Tucano fighter jets that the deal has been done, but he actually went further to acknowledge another sale, a separate sale of helicopters and other security hardware that has not been detailed. If he has agreed, as we have heard, to send U.S. military trainers to Nigeria to train the forces that are being newly equipped, what do you think that is ultimately going to mean for some of our operations in the Middle Belt and the Northeast?
Quite a lot. It's going to mean quite a lot. I wasn't, personally impressed with the kind of treatment that we received from the previous administration of the United States, the administration of Barack Obama. I am quite impressed the way this President Donald Trump is going, in as much as the relationship between the United States and Nigeria is going. Now, we've always asked that there should be more assistance to Nigeria from the United States. The U.S. gives over $3 billion in military aid to Israel, and we are a much bigger country than Israel. Could you imagine what will happen if we are receiving that kind of military assistance right now?
Well, we're hearing it's about $1 billion to Nigeria as of now.
Yes, $1 billion. But that is not up to half of what Israel receives. So can you imagine if we are getting $3 billion? And we are a much bigger country than Israel.
Well, but what are you? But there is contrasting opinion that look, this isn't as altruistic as it appears on the part of the U.S. government. That they have strategic interests in the region and in the continent to counter the influence of China, both militarily, diplomatically, and economically. What are your thoughts when you see the kind of buildup we've seen militarily from the U.S. in places like Ghana, in places like Niger, a little bit here in Nigeria? Is there any concern, though, that this is just a strategic decision?
I don't have any concern with that. As a matter of fact, we should be happy if our country, world powers are competing for interest in our country. It's a good thing for us. We want them to come here and invest. That competition is going to bring in a lot of investment. If you go to Djibouti, where they have U.S. African Command, that military command is not only Americans that are working there. They create employment opportunities anywhere they have military bases. And so that Nigeria and China, that U.S. and China is competing for attention in Nigeria is a very good thing, and I like it. I wish it continues.
Now, there are those who are really concerned that is it about being the first African country that's being invited, that how much of that would impact on the Nigerian people? This is not the first time Nigeria stopped relations with the U.S. What's making this one different from the other?
Well, this is the area I have concern. I have the same concern as you do. A lot of time, all these presidents, they travel abroad, a lot of agreements, bilateral agreements signed between countries. At the end of the day, nothing happens on the ground. Well, I am wishing that this one shouldn't be same as those in the past. There should be some concrete evidence of this particular trip to justify the amount of money we've spent on that trip. So I hope it's different. I hope it's not like any other visit.
When you say you hope it's different, there was that report from the presidency that they never got any report from the previous U.S. government about the situation in the Northeast. Now, with this promise for more military assistance to Nigeria, how best would you think or would you suggest that it be implemented in country?
This particular travel?
Yes.
I think this is where our Foreign Affairs Office is going to play a significant role.
Now, I'm talking from your point of view as a security man you've been on the other side. Yeah. Now you're here.
Yes.
You know the situation on ground. You know the situation on the other side.
Right.
So if you were going to suggest avenues of implementation of whatever agreements they've had, because some of them we don't have details of. So if you're going to suggest avenues of implementation, how would you suggest, or what would you suggest?
That is why I was alluding to the Foreign Affairs, because the implementation is not going to be embarked by you and I. Are you saying that we don't have the details? Maybe you and I don't have the details, but I believe that those who have the need to have the details already have the details. And that's why I'm saying that is where our Foreign Affairs Office has a significant role to play. They have to work hand in hand with the U.S. State Department to ensure that whatever agreement that was reached is implemented.
Let's take a more incisive look at what's happening in the Northeast right now.
Okay.
We know that Boko Haram has been factionalized for some time now, one headed by Abubakar Shekau, one headed by al-Barnawi. We know that the al-Barnawi faction is now really taking the model of the Islamic State. In fact, they're calling it the Islamic State of West Africa, in which they're charging taxes. They're not killing their people. They're only killing security forces, as opposed to Shekau, who pretty much kills anybody. Even providing services, taking pregnant women to the hospital. So they're trying to develop a small government. Do you think that there has been enough of an effective counter to the two factions, since they're operating differently and they require different strategies?
Well, yeah, because their modus operandi, are different. They will require different strategy. I would say that there can never be enough measure as long as a challenge continues to exist. We've taken some measures, but in reality, those measures may not have been enough. That is why those challenges still exist. Now, on the issue of strategy, I think the two factions require different strategies. One is a highly extremist militant group that wants to kill everybody, and the other one is one that is sparing, civilians and only targeting, security agencies. So, in reality, they will require two different strategies.
Well, looking at it now, we recall during the return of the Dapchi girls, there was a bit of controversy raised over what appeared like a celebration or a hailing of Boko Haram fighters when they came to return the girls by normal civilians within Yobe. And some are attributing that to this strategy being employed by al-Barnawi to win the hearts and popular support of his people by taking